What's the biggest Hunter Biden surprise of all? Well, if you were a federal prosecutor in court earlier this week, it would have been that he switched his plea from not guilty to guilty without apparently telling the prosecution about that. But there's that. You can't expect much more from a guy who has videos all over his laptop, the real laptop, with him with prostitutes dancing around in his tighty whities. I didn't even know people still wore tighty whities, really. Apparently he does. And his feather boa on, and the whole mess of illegality, corruption, and degradation that is Hunter Biden. But I'm going to tell you the biggest surprise of Hunter Biden's whole fiasco. It's not that he is going to get pardoned. We all know that. He just pleaded guilty in federal court. He's now awaiting sentencing, and he will not spend a day in prison. You know that. I know that. There's no surprise about that at all. This is exactly what has been predicted and expected. Although Joe Biden's like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to, step in and pardon my son. I'm not going to do that. He sounded Southern there for a second. He's not Southern, but you know what I mean. Joe Biden, he's kind of just, not a joke, friend, not a joke, I'm not being facetious. That's how he says it. No. The biggest surprise of all for Hunter Biden is he will end up after this a free and rich man. I know you don't want to hear that, but doesn't it just show us all the system as it really is? That they were running out the clock on the biggest indictments, which could have included money laundering and FARA registration violations and all this. They ran out the clock on all that stuff. And then they tried to give him a sweetheart plea deal that no one has ever seen something so sweetheart before. So the judge, Noriega, is like, look, this is crazy. You've got an addendum, and in the addendum, you've got a whole other thing that he gets immunity on, a gun charge. So Hunter is guilty. Hunter's a criminal. And yet they've waited until this moment in time to actually be forced to try to get some semblance of the justice system functioning when it comes to Hunter Biden. After his dad is the kind of president? I mean, is Joe Biden even really the president anymore? I don't know. I think that you can make a very good case that he's the figurehead of the Democrat machine right now in Washington, D.C., but I don't think anybody really believes he's the president. And so, and at least in terms of making decisions and everything else, I mean, he got shoved aside. And who shoved him aside? Who really pushed him? Well, it was the Obamas, and it was the head honchos of the Democrat Party. It was Nancy Pelosi. It was, all that, right? But now we have Joe Biden not getting the full cover given to him by the Democrat media, and Hunter Biden's going forward. You might be saying, well, how will he end up a rich guy? They're going to pay him for his memoir after this. Why? Why is Hunter going to be both free and rich after this? Maybe even richer than he's ever been before, at least, not including the illicit payments from the foreign governments to him, whatever. But I'm going to tell you why that is in a second. And it's actually a big lesson for all of us about how the Democrat Party operates. The lesson for Republicans, a lesson for conservatives. But first, from our sponsor, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. You see this every day now. The Israeli people are under threat. They're under assault from terrorist enemies all around the Jewish state. And this is a time for the allies of Israel to stand up. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, or IFCJ, has been helping to provide as many Israeli citizens as possible with food and medicine for bomb shelter stays that can last several days in a row. For more than 40 years, the IFCJ has been on the ground in Israel. Within hours of the attacks by Hamas, soldiers last October and every day since have been feeding the hungry and protecting the vulnerable. Support Israel today through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. To hear more stories like this one and to show your support, visit supportifcj.org. That's supportifcj.org. All right, now I said some of that. Probably some of you were like, well, hold on a second, that's crazy. Why would Hunter be rich after all this? And why do we care? Well, we care because it shows how corrupt the system is and how even prosecutors, in fact, in many ways more than a lot of other aspects of the Democrat system, prosecutors are now weapons of the partisan state. But this goes beyond that. One thing that Democrats do much better than Republicans is they take care of their ideological warriors. They take care of the team. They make sure that no matter how much of a jerk you are, how much of a disaster you become in your private life or your public life or whatever, as long as you obey the wishes of the machine, you will have opportunity, money, influence, maybe even some power. As long as you do what the Democrat machine tells you to do. And now you say, well, what is Hunter Biden? Joe Biden stepped down. Now, Kamala's not looking so great in this election. I get that. But that's not the critical point here. It's a little bit like a mafia family. Think of it that way. Why do you watch in these movies, the mobsters make sure that the family of the mobster who shuts his mouth and goes to prison, doesn't sell out? And I know that there was a lot of selling out that happened, but the mobster, at least in theory, who shuts his mouth, keeps his omerta, right, his oath to the rest of the mafiosi, his family gets taken care of. You saw this in Goodfellas. You've seen this. Got to take care of the family. Or you saw this in The Godfather. Did you see The Godfather? I forget what movie it was. You saw this. Anyway, the point is, this is a thing that they do. Well, it's because that sends a message, right? It sends a message going forward that if you play by the rules set by the organization, there are benefits to you. If you don't play by those rules, very bad things happen, right? And Joe Biden fundamentally, in his crazy coup situation, did what the Democrat establishment wanted him to do. So now the Bidens, they're not going to be they're not going to be chatty about this publicly. You're never going to see a contract about this, but the Biden grandchildren are going to, and great-grandchildren, they'll be able to pick Harvard, Brown, UPenn. They'll get them wherever they want to go just because they're Bidens. I mean, it doesn't matter if they can read. And it doesn't matter if the Biden name ever matters again in elected office. But they will take care of the Biden brand and the people that are covered under that. But this is how they got Joe to actually finally step down. I think they threatened the Biden retirement plan, if you will, of all the goodies. And remember, the Democrats control most of Wall Street, most of Silicon Valley, most of the advertising, a huge portion, like 95% of the advertising industry, the book publishing industry, Netflix, Amazon. I mean, go down the list, right? There's so many ways that they can take care of you. Oh, we'll give you a deal. We'll give you a consulting deal on some series. We'll send you, a script. You say if you like it, that mentions the Bidens twice, whatever. That's why Joe Biden did what he did, fundamentally, I think. I don't think this whole thing about it, he's like the second George Washington. Please, it's preposterous. Insult to George. But this is because they understand. I mean, the Bidens fundamentally understand the game of power within the Democrat Party, and it is you do what the party says, and you're taken care of. You don't, you're destroyed. And the party decided Biden to step down. And that means that Hunter clearly is going to get pardoned by his dad. We all know that. But there will be goodies on the backside of this for him, too. And I know that might sound crazy to you because, what? No. Same reason. Why does the mafia pay the family of the guy who keeps his mouth shut in prison? Setting the precedent. Why will they let the Biden kids into schools and pay them off and everything? Going forward, if you're a Democrat politician and the party wants you to do something, you're going to say, do I want my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren to be accepted to Ivy League schools, to get consulting gigs where they don't do anything, to get book deals, et cetera, or, however they're going to monetize the family name. Look at the Kennedys, for God's sake. The Kennedys are all, well, I know RFK Jr. has been thrown out of the Democrat Kennedy clan now because he has thrown his lot in with Trump, but which is a good thing. But for the other Kennedys, he's a Kennedy. Maybe he should run for office. Or, he's a Kennedy. Maybe. What? Who cares? Democrats, they understand the power of branding. They understand the power of that. So that's why I just think it's so interesting that Hunter Biden on the flip side of this, he is going to evade justice in all capacity. He'll get away with all of it. I don't take pleasure in telling you that, but he will get away with the whole thing. Whether Biden wins or loses, and by the way, if Biden if Kamala wins or loses, and if Kamala wins, then that becomes even more, then the hero narrative of Joe Biden stepping down will diffuse even more goodies to the rest of the Biden grifters. And that's how this game works. So I'm just telling you, it is the biggest Hunter Biden surprise of all, even crazier than him dancing around with a pink boa on and his tighty whities and aviators and playing with guns and all kinds of, and prostitutes and all kinds of stuff. So that's the biggest surprise to some people. They'll be like, what? I don't understand. Why is this? Yeah, I told you why. I mentioned guns a second ago. I'm a firearms owner, and I want you to have the best firearms you can have as a Second Amendment enthusiast. And that's why I also think that you should remember that firearms are tools. What do we use them for? I use them for the range, for personal defense training. A lot of you are hunters. It's hunting season out there, my friends, and you can get great rifles at Bear Creek Arsenal. Phenomenal craftsmanship, great prices. You're going to love it. Bear Creek Arsenal has been at this for over 20 years. They've eliminated the middleman, the retailer. So they want you to get the benefit of picking exactly what you want online at their site, having it sent to your FFL. Then you go pick it up, and you're good to go. Hunting season, it's perfect. Getting out to the range while the weather's really nice where you are is perfect. And they've got calibers as rare as the versatile 6mm ARC and the power-packing punch of a 30-06. So Bear Creek Arsenal's perfected the balance of outstanding gunsmithing and affordable products. Remember, you can save even more, 10%, when you use my name, Buck, as your coupon code at BearCreekArsenal.com. That's BearCreekArsenal.com. Coupon code Buck for 10% off. That's the show for today, team. Shields high.